Hi everyone, welcome to Purdue Ironhacks, the tutorial number one walkthrough for introduction of Jupyter Hub Notebooks. In this tutorial, like I said, we'll be introducing what Jupyter Notebooks are, why they exist, and also the environment we'll be providing to you throughout this hack. You'll also be required to use that environment as well. Um, So, a little bit about Jupyter Notebooks. So Jupyter Notebooks exists because they are designed to be a little more documents centric. So they're easier to take notes or explain code to others. And notebooks allow for an interactive method to develop code as well as documentation. So it creates explanatory pieces of code that can compared to typical source files. Typically with source files, you'll find a lot of comments to describe code. Instead, with Jupyter Notebooks, you can create text cells so that you can explain pieces of code or take notes for yourself. And this creates a really dynamic experience that can help you, especially in the data science process, where these notebooks are extremely powerful for things such as data transformations, modeling, and etc. So if we want to go to the platform now, so I think you all have seen this page many times. This is the overview page for the fall 2022 hack after you click on the unemployment hack for fall 2022. So how do we access tutorials? Well, there's a nice bar here where you can click tutorials, and then you'll have the list of tutorials that are available to you throughout the entire hack. Now we're going to look at, for now, we're going to take a look at tutorial one, but we'll get to the others in future videos. So if we look at tutorial one, this is basically where we're going to explain how you're going to be using your Jupyter Hub notebook, getting started, and the basics of what a Jupyter notebook has. So if we want to walk through this, how do we access our notebook? So that's going to be the biggest question and probably the most frequently visited page, since you'll be working in that space when creating your solution for this hack. So we have a nice accessible workspace button up here, and that workspace button, once you click it, is going to open up a Jupyter Lab environment for you. When you initially load this in, you're going to get a launcher somewhat like this, and you're going to create a Python 3 notebook from that. So you're just going to click Python 3, and that's going to open up a new notebook for you. So super easy, no setup. And the nice thing is that with the no setup, all the libraries are pre-installed. So things such as Python, Pandas, NumPy, PyTorch, Keras, you name it, will already be pre-installed for you when you load up the environment. So this provides you with ease of access. You don't have to do anything such as pip install or anything like that. Now if we go back to text here, basically what are the basics of a Jupyter Hub notebook? So the main purpose is, the main section of a notebook is called cells. And we have two different types of cells that are here. We have raw text cells or code cells. Raw text cells are usually formatted in Markdown. So if you know Markdown, this is great if you know how to format text that way. But essentially, this will be an area where you can write down any documentation that you may need. So the idea of document-centric coding practice here. You can take notes such as, for example, you may take notes that you're getting an error somewhere, or you may want to use a formula and you only have the raw formula. You can put that all there, or you can explain pieces of code. And this will be awesome for your submission if you explain pieces of code as well. Next, we have a code cell. As it says, code cells basically are runnable pieces of code. So when you hit the play button, it's going to run that piece of code for you. So that'll be anything in Python that you may write. And once you run the cell, it's going to give you an output if you get an error or if you printed something that you want to see right below the cell that you ran. So this is a great way to debug code, a great way to see how your code is working in the middle of it, and this is a great way to break up your code utilizing cells. And some tips and tricks that we have some shortcuts similar to what IDEs have in regular coding environments. So you can find some of these in the notebook that we provided to you up here. And that is essentially all broken down. And you may download this notebook for yourself. And you can download it here and then drag that into your Jupyter Hub environment here. Then we also have a tips and tricks tips and trick sheet for you so that you can learn what's in the environment, what keyboard shortcuts are available for you, and how you can utilize the environment for best practice so that you can speed up your development or create better pieces of code for your submission. So after we looked at that, I'm going to hop back in the notebook here, and I'm going to walk through the tutorial 1 that we actually just looked at here, since I already downloaded it. So through here, we walk through what a cell is. So similar to here, this is a code cell. So here I'm just printing 2 plus 2, and right here it appears 4. So you can see that every cell will have an output if you have one. So if there's an error, you'll get an error message, or if you just have like a simple print function like this, it'll also print that as well. If you don't have any output, then it's not going to generate anything. So if you want to utilize a cell that way, make sure you always have some sort of print function like that, or generating some output essentially. Then here you have the raw text cell, so this can be markdown. So here you could take notes or develop a summary for a section of code. Anything you may like here. This is not runnable pieces of code, so essentially it's not going to run no matter what you write in there. So Jupyter Notebooks are really smart like that, and you can really develop code in a really story-based piece of way where you can kind of create this living document essentially. Then at the top here, you're going to have your toolkit as well as up here. So this is like your typical copy, cut, paste, also your play for each piece of code. So if I run this, you can see it went a little star there, and then also printed out the code. Then you can also stop the code if something is not working quite right, or you can restart the kernel to make sure that you clear all the variables and such so that you get a clean run of code. And we also have keyboard shortcuts similar to the document that I just showed before in the markdown. And here we kind of show that there are certain keyboard shortcuts that you can utilize here to help speed up your development, similar to like an IDE. Then down here we have some working pieces of code to show how cells exactly work in code. So if I hit play on this one, it's only going to run that piece of code, and it stops here, as indicated by this blue line here. Then we can also hit play again, and then it's going to run that piece of code. Then if we hit play again, it's going to run that piece of code, and then we have an output here, so it generates this plot for us. And this is great because we can display plots very easily. We can break up our code so that we can debug it very easily, and this makes the coding experience amazing. And like I said, all we need to do is just do the imports because all the libraries are pre-installed for you. So basically you never have to set up your environment. Everything should be already set up and pre-done for you. All libraries that exist in the environment will be on our task document that will be available to you. So if you need to reference what libraries are available to you, you can just reference that. And that's it for tutorial 1. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Ironhacks team. And in the next tutorial, we'll be talking about tutorial 2, which is about how you're accessing your data through Google Cloud's BigQuery and how you can utilize some of the features in there so that you never have to download any data or anything like that. So I want to thank you guys for joining us and have a good one.